Hey everyone, today I'm going to be going over a oil change kind of, and then more so the modifications that I'm going to be doing to simplify and make oil changes in the future less messy. So let's go ahead, jump straight into it. First we'll just dig into the Toyota box. This one doesn't make life any easier, but it's just a little quality of life upgrade. It's just a metal oil filter housing. I'll link all this stuff down below, that way you guys can find it easy. This is the biggest thing, I think. It's the Fumoto oil drain valve. And then I got the one with the short nipple, so you can attach the tube to drain it right into the bucket or bottle. This is from Motivex Tools, I believe it's called. And it's just a little package here. So this is just a funnel that screws right onto the oil fill cap, so you can just screw it on, not have to worry about holding it. Pretty nice, small little thing again. Then we also have a oil filter wrench. This one's just a nice metal one. Should last a long time. And fits perfect on there. And then last but not least, we have the drain tube for the oil filter housing. So this will work on the plastic filter too, but it just screws right into the bottom instead of using the one that typically comes with the oil filters. Here, I'll show you real quick. This little thing, normally you would pop into the housing and it would drain. And honestly, my Tacoma had the same oil change setup and I always forgot to use this. So I don't even know how it works. Or if it works good, I know how it works, but don't know if it works good. And then that's it for all my little things. I'm using Castrol. I went with high mileage even though I'm not quite at 75,000 yet. I'm close enough though to where I just wanted to start using it so I can stick to the same oil. In the past I used Valvoline oil just because honestly the gear oil bags that they sell that you can like squeeze, I've used in the past, so I really like that design, so I went with Valvoline. But I'm just trying something else this time. It's what they had and I've heard good things about it, so yeah. Obviously any name brand oil doesn't really, they're all basically the same when it comes down to it. But yeah, let's go ahead. We'll pop the hood, take off the skid plate, stuff like that. Go ahead and get started. There we go, first step, pop the hood, take off the oil cap. This helps it drain faster. Just a little habit that I do. Set that somewhere where you're not gonna lose it. I'll probably put it up there. Now we're gonna go ahead, go under, get the skid plate off. I don't know what size bolt this is, but I'm gonna crawl under there and I'll let you guys know. It is a 10 mil. I'm gonna go ahead and take these things off real quick. Should state, I don't know exactly which ones I need to take off for this. It's not as simple as the Tacoma because there's some pieces to it, but I'll let you guys know. After some confusion of what should have been a simple task, I got it. You go ahead and remove this guy right here. There's 4 or 5 actual 10mm bolts on it. And then this little plastic clip, which I struggled with really hard for some reason. Big skid plate, it's just got 4 bolts. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And then you have access to the underneath. So let's go ahead and drain the oil pan, and then we'll move on to the filter. Correction, to get to the oil pan bolt, there's a little tray on the more rear skid plate with 2 more 12 mil bolts. So don't forget about those. I will say, not that this is complicated, but it's already way more steps than the Tacoma was. So hopefully these little additions that I'm doing will simplify this process in the future. Hopefully this fits under there. I'm not confident, not fully confident. Hopefully it does. I believe underneath is a 14 mil oil pan bolt. I'll update you guys on that after I drain it. Always recommend using a ratchet or a wrench when dealing with the oil pan, because you don't want to strip or over tighten when you go to put it back on. Yeah, I'm gonna do this real quick and I'll get back to you. For this part, I definitely recommend using some sort of gloves, preferably ones that aren't too small for you like mine are. I'm also gonna take off my watch. Don't want to stain that. And then also, just real quick, I'm going to show you guys, once I get these gloves on, I'm going to show you where these holes actually are, because my descriptions might not have done justice here. Okay. So when you're underneath, this one will be in front. These will be at the very front of the car. So it'll be like this for you. And then you're going to take out these 2 bolts, these 3 bolts, and then there's this little clip that was a pain to deal with. So good luck. And then this one kind of sits directly behind it. This one actually overlaps it a little bit. So then you take out this bolt, and then there's 2 bolts here. And then this hangs in, so you got to drop it down and take these out. So that prevents it from completely falling once you undo the bolts. The back end will fall, but the front will stay connected. And then this is on skid plate that's still on there, and it's just 2 bolts. And directly above it is the oil pan drain bolt, which is indeed a 14 mil. I already loosened that. Now I'm gonna go under there, undo it by hand, and let it drain out. For that process, I can't recommend the gloves enough. That way, as long as your oil is cool, like mine was, you can just hand thread out the bolt and then just hold it and then let it drip over the pan. Then have some towels or a microfiber handy, so you can clean off the bolt from the oil so it's not dripping all over your floor. And then microfiber, just wipe off your gloves real quick. Should just clarify, this isn't exactly a how to change your oil video, so I'm not going into like detail and showing you guys every step. I'm just gonna talk through it, and then when the modifications come in, I will show those to you guys, because that's really what the video is about. While that oil pan is draining out, I'm just going to go ahead and prep the Fumoto valve. This is very difficult to do with slippery gloves. Don't lose this. That is the locking collar that keeps the valve in the closed position when you have it up. As I throw it on the ground. So, yeah, this guy, I'm actually probably gonna have to watch the video on how this works. Oh, never mind. So that's open, just like that, and that's closed. So then this locking collar has a little groove, and it just slips in there. That way this can't accidentally be opened by some magical dwarf that's under there. So yeah, basically this is just going to replace the oil pan bolt. So you're replacing the traditional bolt with the valve here. And then, I'll just show you. It's got these two plastic nipples in this bag. I'm not going to open them yet. But there's a straight one and a bent one. And essentially, one end of that plastic piece goes onto the valve. And the other one, you pull off this black cap and the tube goes on it. And then you open up the valve. Yeah, open up the valve and the oil will drain out of the tube. So you can just stick that wherever you want, mess free. And then when you're done, just close the valve, put the locking collar back on, and you're good to go. So 100% not a necessity, but you won't have to deal with this guy falling in the oil pan or getting your hands dirty or even undoing this bolt. One of the things that some people worry about is stripping the oil pan threads after like years and years of oil changes. So with this, you put it in and you don't have to deal with unthreading it. It's another plus. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Oil should be drained by now. I'm gonna go check, and if it is, I'm just gonna thread this in, and then I'm gonna use a wrench just to get it a little past hand tight. Don't over tighten your oil pan bolts. Whoever did this oil change before me put it on like the Hulk, and it's annoying when people do that. So especially if you're going to be doing your own oil changes, just hand tight and then snug it up. That's it. Don't go crazy with it. For this valve, I went ahead and took off the clip for now. Then I'm just going to use a 17 mil ratchet. If you're using a ratchet, be careful. Just don't go too tight with it. And I'm just going to snug it up down there. So I'm going to put this on, and then I'll show you what it looks like underneath. This might be kind of difficult, but that's what it looks like in there. So I just have it snugged up. I have the valve facing away since I'll be using the nipple there. I'll be using this part to drain it. I'm just going to throw the clip on there before. And then, yeah, so I'm going to drain it. I just spilled oil. It did so good. It's a little difficult to do, actually. Just go like that. There's still a little bit of oil left in there, I guess. And that will drain. And then if you attach a tube, obviously. I'm beginning to realize on the 4Runner, you don't really need a tube because it drains straight down. But, so if you don't want to get the tube one, you don't have to. And then when it's done draining like it is, just flip it and then throw the collar back on and you're good to go. Now we're gonna go ahead and start the oil filter process. Initially, you're just gonna need the ratchet without a socket on it, and you're gonna take off this little piece. It's right on the bottom, you can't miss it. And then you're gonna thread this in, thread this guy up, and that will drain the oil from the filter housing. And we can simply use our tool. This is the example, down there it's plastic. You're just gonna put it on, loosen it, and then that's it. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then, yeah. All right, so that is the housing currently, just a plastic one. Like I said, I already took off that plastic piece or metal piece that goes in there. And now we're just gonna go ahead and thread this bad boy into there, drain it, take off the cap, and replace it with the metal one. A lesson learned: before you use the oil filter drain thing, the hose from the Motivex Tools kit, go ahead and cut that line so you don't have to sit there and hold it the whole time, because it drains relatively slowly, and that's a painful process. But anyways, I got this filter off, and if you notice, the inner tubes are different heights, so I'm just gonna go ahead and swap those out. Show you on the clean one first. All you do is push down. It's kind of a pain because you gotta line up these things, like little tabs in there. So certainly kind of a pain to do. I recommend This one I beat up because I don't need it. Just these tabs right here on each side, they bend outwards a little bit. I recommend just folding them in, and then you can pop it off easier. I did it more neatly on the one I'm keeping. And then I'm gonna go ahead, put this guy in. And then once it's in, just gonna unbend those guys so it can't pop out so easily. Some longer needle nose pliers would be a lot better for this. There we go. Now we have the taller one in the metal oil filter housing. I'm gonna go ahead, put the O-rings on this. We'll do it together. Okay, we're throwing stuff now. Love the taste of oil. So in your oil filter box, my gloves are oily, so I can just rub oil on these so they're a little lubricated. You're just gonna take the big guy here, and that's gonna go right in that little groove right below the threads, not all the way down. And then this one goes on that first little metal piece you took off. And actually, so it's gonna sit right in there, so you can just put it in there. It doesn't seem to fall out. And then when you screw this guy back on, which we can actually do right now. So you do need to take this off your other housing. And then just snug that up. Whoa. And then we'll go ahead and do the filter under there. And then I'll show you guys what it looks like. I forgot a very important part. Make sure you put the filter in. You need that. All right, now I'll go ahead and put it on. So I went ahead, snugged up the oil filter. Don't do it too tight, because now that it's metal, it'll probably expand and contract a little bit, because this old plastic one doesn't do that because it's plastic. I'm not sure if that's actually confirmed. That's just my brain thinking that through. I just wanted to quickly say this I bought from AutoZone in the past, oil filter wrench. Same concept. This one always got stuck onto the filter when I put it on, and I would have to beat it off with a hammer, and it was miserable. This one had zero problems with, so highly recommend this guy. Doesn't get stuck on there. There's just enough space to pull it off easily. Yeah, I'll go ahead and show you what the metal one looks like under there. Nothing super special, but it's one of those things that I wanted to do while I was doing my first oil change and not have to worry about the plastic one, even though the plastic one's probably fine. Okay, I managed to drip a few oil spots, but this is what it looks like under there all put together. Now it's metal. We got the Fumoto valve over there. I did put the cover back on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and fill this sucker up and start it. I'm gonna leave off the skid plate. That way I can see if there's any drips. So let's go ahead and do that. This was the part that I think I'm most excited for. I'll probably like the Fumoto valve for the next oil change, but it didn't benefit me at all this time. So that literally just screws on. You don't gotta worry about it. 4Runner takes 6.6 quarts of OW20, like it says there. So we're just gonna go ahead and pour in the first 5. Then I'm gonna check it just to be sure. Also, if you find that this isn't pouring in fast enough, you can pull out the dipstick a little bit, and that will help it fill faster because there won't be like an airlock, I guess. Now, hopefully that's not dripping all over my floor because that would be unfortunate. Basically full. It's very hard to see fresh oil on that dipstick because there's no grooves or anything. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start it up for like 5 seconds and then check it again. Went ahead, started it up. I put the oil cap back on for that. Probably, I don't know if you have to, but made me feel better about myself, so I did. We are just at the bottom dot there. So we can go ahead and add the last 0.6, because if you didn't know, typically in between the dots is about 1 quart. So if you're at the bottom and you add a quart, you'll be at the top. And now I'm just going to pour in to the, what do we want to do here? We want 0.6. This is 1, so we're going to go a little over half. I'm going to use the phone light. It is kind of upsetting that this is 6.6 because now I just have 0.4 of a quart that I have to save. So maybe buying 2 5 quarts would be more useful. So real quick, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys how to reset the maintenance light on this thing. I'm gonna go ahead, turn the key to the on position, and then we're gonna make sure that it's on trip A there. Then we're gonna shut off the key, and then while turning on the key and pressing the button, I'm gonna set the phone down. So you just hold the button, turn the key back to on. You don't need to start it. And then that's it. Simple as that. And then I'll go ahead, reset my trip meters. Perfect. And that's all you got to do. That is oil change complete. I'm gonna go ahead, button this thing back up, and then we'll just do a quick overview of the things I did and how it will make the next oil change easier. So that about wraps up the oil change on the 4Runner here. That was my first one on this thing, so it was a little rough learning where all the bolts were. It was easy, but it's a little confusing. So all we're left with at the end of that is the oil filter wrench, which we'll continue to use, the funnel, which we'll continue to use, the oil filter drain hose, which, like I said, I recommend cutting so you don't have to sit there and hold it. I'm going to do that before next time. And then you're also left with the Fumoto oil pan valve, drain valve nipples, along with the hose that connects onto the nipples. So everything else, well, I guess there's only two other things. The filter and the valve are now installed. Let me go ahead and show you something I do. I don't know why my brain didn't think of this sooner, but we just put the old oil back in to your containers that you used. Then it's super easy to transport and dump out and dispose of at the auto parts store. So yeah, that is all I have for this. The next oil change should be a lot more simple. I can just go undo the oil pan hole spot, switch the valve, let it drain, and then oil filter is the same process, but it's metal. Yeah, really the biggest thing is that valve. It'll make the future oil changes one less step and a little less messy, which is a go for me. The funnel makes things less messy. The oil filter drain tube makes things less messy. So it's really just about simplifying the process. Absolutely do not have to do any of this, but I don't know. I just wanted to. I've never done anything like it on my other vehicles, so start on this one. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Have a good day.